Hi there, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to look at how we actually use jQuery. I'll get back to the code editor. In last lecture, I included jQuery library to Solo website. And in this lecture, I'm going to show you how you can use jQuery library. As I said in my last few lectures that the purpose of jQuery library is to make it much easier to use JavaScript on your website. Okay, I'm going to script.js file and here I'm going to write some jQuery code. I'm going to resize my code editor and I'm going to hide my sidebar and I'm going to open this index.html file in web browser, and for that I'm going to click on this open in browser icon. Okay, I'll go to script.js file. I'm going to write comment inside script.js file and the comment is how to use jQuery. Okay, the very first thing I want to show you is how you can select or grab an HTML element and then how you can perform an action on an element. I'm going to show you basic syntax of jQuery. To grab an HTML element, you use $, and then you write opening and closing parentheses. And inside these parentheses, you define the selector. And then you perform some action. This is basic syntax of jQuery. You grab an HTML element and then you perform some action. Let me grab this h1 element and I'll perform some action on this h1 element. Okay, I'm going to select h1 element and I'll select it like this way, h1, and I'm going to perform an action, and the action is to hide this h1 element. This $sign refers to jQuery library, and this is the selector part which works just like CSS selector, and this is the action part which is hide method of jQuery. So I have selected this h1 element. You can use single quotes or you can use double quotes, and then you give it dot and then you give it method. In this case, I'm going to hide this h1 element. I'll go ahead, I'll save this script and I'm going to reload this page. And you can see that there is no more h1 element. The h1 element is hidden right now. I can hide it slowly with 500 milliseconds. So it is going to hide this h1 element over the course of 500 milliseconds. As you can see, it does a kind of animation for this h1 element. And we can also use jQuery chaining feature, like we can chain the jQuery show method. Now you can see that it is first going to hide this h1 element and then it is going to show this h1 element. jQuery chaining is very cool feature, and this is something which we discussed in last lecture. Another thing you can do is slide up and slide down. I'll first do the slide up. I'll slide up with 1000 milliseconds. And now you can see that the h1 element is sliding up over the course of 1000 milliseconds. And I can change the slide down method. So it will first slide up and then slide down, slide up and slide down. So this is how you select an HTML element and perform an action. It is very simple to perform such action using jQuery. You would be require many lines of JavaScript code to accomplish such action. Therefore, I recommend once you learn JavaScript, you should definitely learn jQuery. Next, let me show you how you can select an element using ID. We have this p element and the ID of this p element is main. Let me grab this p element and I'll perform some action on this p element. I'm going to write $, and then I'm going to write opening and closing parentheses. And inside these parentheses, I'm going to write single quotes. You can either use single quotes or double quotes. So I'm going to use single quotes, and then I'm going to write hash sign and then the ID value of that P element, which is main. This is the same way as selecting element using CSS, which we have been doing in CSS section. So now I have selected this P element, and then I'm going to add the dot sign, and I want to apply some style to this P element using jQuery, and for that I'm going to use jQuery CSS method, and I'm going to specify some CSS properties inside these parentheses. And the properties are, I want the color for this P element to be red, and the font size should be 25 pixels. This is basically JavaScript object which we discussed in JavaScript lecture. So we are passing an object with two properties, color and font size, to this CSS method, and we are going to apply this style to the P element which has main ID. I'll go ahead, I'll save this script, and I'll show you the result inside the web browser. And you can see that the color of this paragraph is red and the font size is 25. Let me show you inside the Chrome Developer Tools. I'm going to inspect this P element, and you can see that the color of this P element is red and the font size is 25. This CSS is applied by using jQuery, and it is only applied to this P element which has this main ID. So by this way you select an element which has an ID and you apply some style to that element. You can also select an element using classes. We have these P elements which have content class. Let me apply some style to these P elements, and I'm going to grab these P elements using class. I'm going to duplicate this jQuery code. Okay, I'm going to grab these P elements which have class content. To select an element using class, you use period sign and then you use class name, and the class name is content. And I want the color to be blue and the font size should be 50 pixels. So by this way it is going to select all the P elements, I mean all the elements which have content class, and this style will be applied to these elements. Now you can see that the color of these two P elements is blue and the font size is 50 pixels. Let me show you inside the Chrome Developer Tools. We have these P elements, and the class attached to these P elements is content, and this is the CSS applied using jQuery. Okay, so by this way you select elements using class. Next I want to show you how you can change the style of these P elements on click event of this H1 element. I'm going to grab this H1 element again. And then I'm going to use jQuery click event. And inside these parentheses, I'm going to define a function. This is simply JavaScript anonymous function. JavaScript anonymous function is a function which has no name, and then we define action inside these curly braces, and the action is to apply some style on these P elements. I'll simply copy this jQuery code and I'll paste it inside these parentheses. I'll go ahead, I'll save this script, and I'm going to reload this page. And now I'm going to click on this H1 element, and it is going to change the color and font size for these two P elements. I'm going to click on this H1 element, and you see On click event of this h1 element, the custom style is applied to these p elements, which is the color blue and font size is 50 pixels. There are different types of events like on click, on load, on mouse over, and many more. So this is how you select an element and then you perform an action on click event. Okay, next I'm going to show you a very important method of jQuery, which is document.ready method. I'll first write the jQuery document.ready method and then I'll explain the purpose of jQuery document.ready method to you. To write jQuery document.ready method, you write $, and then you write opening and closing parentheses, and inside these parentheses you write document, and then you write dot, and then you write ready method, and inside these parentheses you write the JavaScript anonymous function. This is jQuery document.ready method. This document.ready method is used to make a function available after the document structure is ready. It is always a good practice to have all the jQuery events and functions inside this document.ready method. As per jQuery documentation, there is a short form of document.ready method. This is the document.ready method and this is the short form of document.ready method. In short form, we remove this document.ready part. And this is the equivalent short form for document.ready method and this is the recommended way. In this course, we will use this short form of document.ready method. Okay, as I said, it is always good practice to have all the jQuery code inside document.ready method. So I am going to add all of my jQuery code inside document.ready method. So it is going to work the same way as before. In this course, you will see me writing all of the jQuery code inside document.ready method. There is one another method which is window on load. In window on load method, you select browser window and you use on event and then you add load method. This means perform some action on window on load and we define action using JavaScript anonymous function. The document.ready method and window on load method are almost close to each other. A window load event fires when all the content on your web page is fully loaded, including the document structure, images, and content, everything on your web page. And on the other hand, jQuery document.ready method function event executes a bit earlier than window on load and is called once the document structure is loaded on your web page. It will not wait for images, frames, and other content to get fully loaded. So the window load event run a function when the page is fully loaded including graphics, and document.ready method run a function when only document structure is ready. In solo project, if you would need to perform some action when the page is fully loaded, and for that we will use window on load method. So therefore I wanted to introduce this method to you. We can perform some action inside these curly braces and the function can be simply alert window is loaded. Okay, now you have got an idea how to use jQuery library. By using jQuery, we are going to add cool features to our solo project. Let us have a look at solo final product and we will have a look at jQuery cool features. I am going to open the solo website. Go to this address adyanixschool.com/u/solo. This is the final product of solo website which we are going to build in this course. We have this cool carousel slider effect. We have this responsive tabs effect. And we have image gallery effect. And we have portfolio filter effect. We are going to add all these cool features using jQuery and jQuery plugins. We have carousel slider effect for testimonials. And we have this counter up effect. And we have this Google map. I'll show you how easy it is to add such cool features using jQuery. Okay, I'm going to clean my script.js file. Okay, that's it about this lecture. If you have any question, please ask me. I'm always available to help you out. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in next lecture. Thanks.